Welcome to Just a Minute on Eastern Sierra Now. I'm AJ. Here's how it works. Every candidate gets the same 10 questions and exactly 1 minute to answer each. When the clock hits 0, we move on. It's fast, it's fair, and it's all about giving you a clear picture of the people asking for your vote. Make sure to subscribe to Eastern Sierra Now on YouTube and follow us on all platforms to stay informed on everything happening in our community. Let's get into it. Ted Carleton is the founder and publisher of Sheet News, a weekly newspaper which covers the Eastern Sierra from Lone Pine to Bridgeport. He has 2 daughters, the eldest of whom is headed to law school in the fall. The youngest is an 8th grader at Home Street. Ted moved to Bishop in 2015 after his family lost its home in the Round Fire in Swall Meadows, 20 miles north of Bishop. Welcome, Ted.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today? Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Let's get into the first question. Question 1. Why did you choose to run for county supervisor at this point in your life?
Well, I've spent my my career in journalism mainly, so I've spent upwards of 35 years on the other side of the dais, and I've seen politicians come and go, some good, some not so good, and I think I'd like an opportunity on that side of the dais, and I think I can do a pretty good job, and I kind of know what makes a good supervisor and what doesn't. One of the things I might add on this is, we have these pre-scripted 10 questions, right? Like, I can tell you right now, the Russians didn't ask JFK, they didn't give him the questions in advance. So I'm doing this off the cuff. I have not looked at these questions in advance. So hopefully you can think on your feet. That's part of the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great answer.
Go ahead.
Right on.
Next.
Question 2. What experiences in your background have best prepared you to serve the people of Inyo County?
I mean, to go back to the newspaper, for 35 years I've been covering local politics. I know all these issues. I can tell you that Inyo County has increased its budget nearly 40% over the last 4 years. A lot of that is in wages and benefits. Okay, can we sustain that? I would argue that in the COVID era, the government threw a lot of money at us and we were very good at spending it. But that money, the feds are prosecuting the war, the state's broke. I don't think you can count on that money necessarily piling in here anymore. So we've got to have a little bit more judiciousness when it comes to how we spend our dollars.
That's a fantastic answer, very comprehensive. What do you see as the most important challenges facing Inyo County right now?
Well, money, obviously. I think the EMS service that's sort of languished for the past 4 years, that's an issue. I know that you hear this stuff, you need to run government as a business. Okay, yes, I agree with that. But sometimes contracting out necessary life and death services doesn't necessarily lead to the best response. We have this larger, my district has a larger rural fire area. I think we need to probably fund it a little better. I think the outer communities like Starlight and Mustang Mesa need to pay their fair share. Mm-hmm. And I think that we should probably give more resources to Bishop Fire Department to do a wider service area.
Makes a lot of sense. Next question is, how can a county supervisor best serve a rural and geographically large community like ours?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the first thing that the supervisor is going to need to do, the Board of Supervisors fired Nate Greenberg, or let him go, or however you want to do it. So they have lacked a CAO. They had an interim for 5 months. Then they hired another interim for a year. If I do nothing more in the next 4 years but hire some smart gal or guy to run Inyo County, I'll have done my job.
Hey, that makes a lot of sense to me. What does good leadership look like to you in county government?
Good leadership. Well, I think it's more than just what you're paid, right? The county government needs to have some sort of common theme of, hey, we're in the public sector and public service to help people. Mm-hmm. So if supervisors can model that in any way, just by being active, by asking questions, by going into the departments and saying, how are you doing? Not saying, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this, but hey, tell me about your job and what I can do to make your job streamlined or more efficient or make you a better person. That's that's how I lead. That's how I lead my silly little newspaper, and that's how I lead the county.
Absolutely. And what qualities make someone an effective county supervisor beyond experience?
Well, you got to show up a lot. I mean, what's very interesting is I go to a lot of these meetings, but now that I decided to throw my hat in the ring, I'm going to even more meetings. You know who's there all the time? Jen Rozier. It's kind of interesting. Like, I did not know to the extent that she was at all these different meetings. Like, so that's been an eye-opener. And a lot of it is, you say to yourself, people ask me, like, okay, how are you going to run a newspaper and how are you going to serve as a supervisor? Well, I mean, obviously I was going to, backfill my newspaper responsibilities so I could spend more time at the supervisor level. But I'm understanding now it's even more than that. The breakdown's even more severe because supervisors they need to be present and they need to be accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you ensure your decisions reflect the needs of the entire community?
Well, I've been walking all the neighborhoods, so I think after that period of time, I'll have a pretty fair understanding of. I mean, this is a very interesting district, right? The West Bishop area is, there are places of great affluence. On the res, there are places of poverty, right? I mean, so you've got to be able to speak both languages, right? Fortunately, when you're a newspaper guy, you're covering all the stories. So you're not just covering a particular slice or representing a particular segment of your district. You're representing everybody. So you better be comfortable walking into all sorts of neighborhoods and homes.
Absolutely, get yourself out there.
Well, hopefully you're invited in. You're not just breaking in.
Next question is, can you describe a difficult decision you faced and what you learned from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those are related to any difficult decisions when you have to lay somebody off. And then you really have to reflect and say, okay, how are there ways to cushion that blow? What sort of, can I give that person a lead on the next job? Can they maybe work part-time while, I mean, the tough thing when you're running a small business, and you folks would know this at Eastern Sierra now, like it's just a shoestring, right? So you just have to there needs to be an empathy, and there also needs to be an understanding of your fellow human being, and those are the toughest jobs where you have to let someone down. Well, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And how would you approach managing county resources and budgets while still delivering essential services?
Look, we have entered this period now with, I mean, and it hasn't really manifested, but I think it's going to manifest in the next 4 years with artificial intelligence, where already you've seen the newspapers bigger than mine, they'll talk about how AI is going to replace administrative and clerical jobs. Okay, so may that happen, maybe not happen, but I mean, I've got to figure out how to retrain people if they might be replaced by tech, or I can redeploy those resources to other things like parks or to the ambulance service or fire suppression, right? So I think a lot of it is, politics is about the allocation of resources. And I think we're going to have some hard choices over the next 4 years as to how do we redeploy, remanage this stuff. Certainly not, I'm not saying that we're going to have a bunch of layoffs. We're not, but we need to be smart about it.
How would you keep residents informed and engaged with decisions that affect their daily lives?
Well, I mean, I can certainly promote it in Eastern Sierra Now or the Sheet or the Inyo Register or any, I mean, I think, look, I think it's pretty important to keep local media strong, and I think that's a good way to dispense information, and you can train people to go look for it. I look at, there's a study about news deserts where counties that didn't have any media presence, the average cost of borrowing was a point higher. And the reason that the average cost was a point higher was because greed and malfeasance, right? So when no one's watching the store, bad things tend to happen. So I think communicating with the public, being transparent with the public, that's what you need to do.
Absolutely. And now, Ted, would you like to take a minute to address your voters directly to tell them a little bit about your campaign?
All I can say is that I lived in my home, I bought a home on Sunset, and I've lived there for about a year and a half. And until I ran for office, I didn't even really know my immediate neighbors. It's been the best part about this experience is it gives me an excuse to walk all the neighborhoods in my district and meet people. And I was like, holy mackerel, like Gabe from Otis Elevator, like I didn't know you lived on Sunset Road, but he does. Like so it's been a joy. And look, I think I've already served the public in one capacity. I'm just hoping to serve the public in even a greater capacity.
Well, thanks for joining us on Just a Minute at Eastern Sierra Now. Our goal is to keep you informed, engaged, and connected to what matters most in our community. If you found this helpful, subscribe on YouTube and follow us across all platforms so you never miss an update. And remember, local elections matter. Be informed and be sure to vote. We'll see you next time.